Hello, and welcome to episode 60 of Absolute Scenes. I'm Billy Roach, and I'm joined today by the lovely backseat driver, for today at least, Tom Rouse.
Thank you for having me on Backseat Driver.
Yeah. But, it was mainly Tom. I've written down a load of stuff because I've been teaching from home, and I've been literally scrolling through Twitter. I think there's been loads happening today. So I was like, right, I'm going to get this. I texted you last night saying I've got a one-off feature. And seeing as you've stolen everything else off me now, you've taken the poll, you've taken the commentary. I thought, I'm gonna steal this. I'm gonna steal the intro. We probably still have the same advert at the start, asking you to donate to Tom's Movember.
No, that has changed now.
That has changed now.
It was a festive one. It was for Christmas, so that needs to change as well.
So yeah, Tom's going to be on the adverts momentarily as well, and we're I don't know when this will come out. It might come out. We're actually recording it slightly earlier today, aren't we, Tom? Because you've been triple booked.
I've triple booked myself, yeah. So I've got a podcast, or my other podcast, Show She Kit, which is Billy. It charted. Can you believe that? My other podcast charted. It was
worst podcast of all time.
It was a 199th in the UK soccer podcasts. So really pleased with that. The only way is sideways.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just got to get relegated now. First time, first Wolverhampton thing to get relegated this year as things stand.
Well,
how have you been? How's the week been?
It's been better than last week. So last week, obviously, I was exhausted by Thursday, and we'd only started probably on the Tuesday doing online lessons. But they've changed the way that we do it now. So we're only teaching 50% of our timetable. The rest of the time is sort of directed time or independent tasks for the kids, which they're not doing. But I mean, there's only. I mean, what can I threaten them with?
I would like to point out as well, Tom, that you probably have a 50% normal teaching timetable anyway, because with your reduced timetable. I think you were telling me the other day that you didn't start until 11 o'clock, and you'd been playing Football Manager since 9.
That very well may be the case, but. Well, listen, it's been a successful period for me on Football Manager.
That was what I was leading on to. Have you played the cup finals? Have they?
This leads us nicely into the poll, because I'm going to claim this as the poll for this week. So on what day was it? I think Monday, perhaps it was.
Yeah.
2 days. No, Tuesday. Alice was at work, and she worked all day, and she was due back about 8 o'clock, 8:30, something like that. And I had been playing Football Manager all day and got Wolves to a position where we were in the regular Premier League season had ended, and there was the FA Cup left and there was the Europa League left. Those two finals left. So I tweeted out, I've got two games left of my season, FA Cup final and Europa League final, but girlfriend due back imminently. Do I either play now or play another time? And 21 votes, Billy. 21. And
I think potentially two of them were from me using our Absolute Scenes Twitter and me voting as well.
Yeah. So 24% said that I should play another time. 76% said to play now. I actually ignored the will of the people.
Wow.
Very much. I mean, very topical. I went with the significant minority and deemed them to be the winners, and I played another time. I actually played yesterday evening, so I left it for a good 24 maybe hours, and I lost the FA Cup final to Liverpool, which I was expecting to. So the two games were against Liverpool and Arsenal, believe it or not, was the Europa League final of all the teams, and we conceded 3 goals in the first half an hour against Liverpool, but then came back to 3-2. So it was the momentum was with us then going into the second final. We played really well in the second half, and then we absolutely tore Arsenal apart in the second half of that game. So it was 0-0 at half time, but then we 3-0 full-time score. 2 goals from a player called Pedro, who's not the Chelsea Pedro. He's only 24 or 25 years old, a Brazilian player. Yeah. Who must exist in real life. I signed him from Fiorentina, I think, so I don't know if he is any good in real life. But Wolves need a striker, so Nuno, if you're listening. And then Mana Solomon was the other player who scored the goal for me. Israeli winger. So politically controversial figure on the right wing.
And on that note, that actually moves me on to something, Tom, which I saw in today's BBC gossip column. I don't know if you've seen it. It's not from a very reliable source, but it's that Nuno, your beloved manager, is looking for a new Premier League club at the minute. Potentially, I don't know what you think about that. It's from The Sun. The Sun are the ones who are reporting this, hence why I say it's not a very reliable source. But what are your thoughts on that?
It doesn't surprise me. I think that he's been hamstrung quite a bit by the owners in the last couple of transfer windows, and in this transfer window in particular. We desperately need a striker, and all he's been offered is Patrick Catrone to come back from.
But he loves the pizza and he loves the pasta, Tom.
He does, and that's why he's magic. But even Catrone, well, Nuno doesn't like Catrone and is not playing him, so he's been brought back and there's your striker, and Nuno's gone no. So it's very interesting to see what will happen, and I mean now that that's come out, it's possible. I mean he's been linked with a few jobs in the past. So Everton, when I think Big Sam actually got the job that time when he first came to Wolves. Spurs perhaps when Pochettino went. Very briefly, but then Mourinho was pretty much instant there. Chelsea a couple of times, Arsenal a couple of times.
That's why I bring it up because obviously following on from last week's meme of the week, you were saying potentially Lampard could get sacked, which obviously is still on the cards. I think he's not favourite to be sacked, but in terms of the big clubs, he is favourite to be sacked. But it was a case of I was thinking potentially it could be something that. You're looking at a manager who's made. Yes, well, that wasn't the word I was going to use, but I'll use that one. A club, you bringing Wolves back and making them turn a corner and things like that. Because we've been linked with Hassan Hutel, I think, as well. Chelsea, in terms of managers, looking at players, managers along those sort of lines, he could be one that Chelsea looked to bring in. So yeah, I just saw it. Yes, it was in yesterday's as well. Them saying about him being him having no money to spend, which is what I was going to bring up. That was what I was going to ask you. Apparently, I remember a couple of years ago you were saying, Wolves have got more money than Chelsea, and yet now there's no money for them.
Our owners have. We have got more money,
but it's obviously, but it's the financial fair play sort of thing side of things now, which obviously,
we've already had a slapped wrist from UEFA, and had we been in any European competition this year, we'd have had a limited squad because of you're going to. I mean, we went from the Championship to the Europa League within 2 seasons.
Yeah,
we spent more than we should, but it was a calculated risk.
Yeah,
because they knew that we would stay in the Premier League for a few years, and then I think you're allowed to spend more money than the longer you stay in the Premier League. I think is how it works. So I didn't know that was a rumor. But Wolves, there's a lot of Wolves fans calling for his head, and he's probably thinking that we're so fickle that. What more could he have done in the last 4 years?
That's what I was. That's my next question: is if he did go, who would come in? Who would? That's the question.
I was on a live stream yesterday to do with Wolves, and that's exactly what I said. And people were saying, "Oh, Thomas Tuchel." Has he just been sacked from PSG?
Yeah, so Chelsea were linked with him as well, and apparently he's not had very good relationship with the boards. Right. That he's worked for. So if you think of him being linked with Chelsea and then Roman Abramovich, he's probably going to be that's not going to be the type of person he wants to employ. I don't know how it is at Wolves, but if that's not exactly the top of the list, Mourinho is obviously a prime example of a manager who is very confrontational with the boards and will say what they want and things like that. And look, he's been sacked twice by Roman. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially if you more so. I think Wolves and Chelsea, obviously, we're both at the minute going through this bit of turbulent period in terms of on the pitch and not performing. You've got more of a reason now. Well, it depends how you want to argue it. Chelsea have got all these new Galacticos that aren't gelling together. Wolves haven't got a striker.
Any players?
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? And it is tough at the minute, obviously, with Mourinho was not Mourinho. who was moaning about the game being rearranged. No, game being rearranged.
Oh, Scott Parker went in for the Fulham
Scott
manager.
Parker, yeah. He was moaning about...
Because they only got like 2 days' notice or something, didn't they?
Yeah, but then Mourinho turned around and went, we had 2 hours' notice before it got cancelled.
That is true, yeah.
It's hard and things are, but apparently all clubs at the start of the season not signed a waiver or signed what, but were aware that they'd have at least, the minimum amount of notice they could have for a game to be put on was 48 hours. In terms of being cancelled, I don't think that was, that's the norm. A game can be cancelled 5 minutes before kickoff. It can be cancelled in the middle of the game. But moving on, Tom, from one football to another. Go on.
Oh, go on then. Are you going to talk about American football?
No.
Good. I was going to talk about the FA Cup and the Wolves.
Go on, you talk
draw.
about them. You talk about the FA Cup. Oh, I forgot about the draw. You can talk about the draw.
I mean, I don't know any of the other clubs and who they're playing, but our draw is a very historical tie. So Wolves have been drawn away at Chorley, which to every neutral fan's probably thinking, well, Wolves will win that. But actually, there's a lot of history behind that tie. So Wolves' lowest point and Chorley's highest point in their histories happened in this exact cup tie in 1986. So it would have been the first round of the FA Cup, and Wolves were in Division 4 at the time. Chorley, I don't know what division they were in, but it basically saved them as a club and has enabled them to go on to this sort of level now. And Wolves lost to Chorley, having played them in 2 replays. So they drew the first game, then they drew the second game, and this was before penalty shootouts and extra time would be a regular thing at this level. So they played a third tie, and Chorley won. And in the third tie, Steve Bull had just been signed and was standing amongst the fans and thought, what the hell have I done here? I've joined this absolute circus. And then obviously the rest is, as they say, history.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. I'm not sure if, because I know they've scrapped replays at the minute. I'm presuming they still, it's for the whole competition. So I don't think it'd go to a replay this time. But it's another precedent's been set, I think, because they've drawn 2 rounds together, haven't they, this year? So I've just got the draw up now. So Chelsea have got Luton, which I knew that, and then we've got I think it's Barnsley or Norwich is the 5th round draw, and then Wolves, if they manage to overcome, surely
we got there's 4 teams that we could play because I don't think that they've played yet.
So you've got Southampton or Shrewsbury or Arsenal because
Southampton.
Yeah, Southampton. That's what I said. Southampton.
Shrewsbury
or Arsenal.
Oh, I thought there was another one.
No, because Arsenal have been drawn against Southampton or Shrewsbury. So there's 3 possible. So there's only 3 there, Tom. Okay. But yeah, so the other notable one I think is obviously it's Liverpool Man U. I think is the other the major draw. Other than that, I think most for the other all Premier League tie. I think it's the only other one is Burnley v Fulham, which is obviously going to be a classic goal thriller. Pay-per-view, as it were, and stuff. But no, it is. Well, I think. Would you think it'll be on telly? Surely we will. Surely it will be.
I think it's. I mean, from already from the coverage, it's going to be the sort of flagship game of the weekend.
I think they'll all be on. They'll all be on TV. I think because they were all on TV. They were all on the red button. But it was more. Are they going to put it? Are they going to build the show around it?
I think so. And
the main event.
I know that Marine did a very similar thing to what Chorley are doing for this round, but they sold virtual tickets, and they ended up selling 30,000 tickets for Marine, which of course helped them to recoup the missed revenue from having Tottenham there. But it was quite good to see like Gareth Bale playing on that kind of a pitch with houses backing onto it and stuff, because that was proper football. And I think that it was the biggest mismatch ever in the FA Cup because they're not even in the Conference North, are they? I think they're below that.
And it's we went to go and watch when we were in university in Carmarthen. Obviously, we went to Carmarthen Town and watched them a couple of times. But it was like watching Bale on that sort of pitch, or Aberystwyth when we went up the other day, but especially Carmarthen because there was, you could see onto the pitch from various houses around and stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've got what I wanted to talk about, Tom, was Mark Clattenburg. I don't know whether you've seen. He's trending on Twitter at the moment.
Is it for his awful tattoos?
No. Not
you ever seen
quite.
them?
I have seen them with his Champions. It's his Champions League one, isn't it? And his World Cup
so
one.
he's got on his forearms, he's got the logos of the Champions League from, I think they're both 2016, because he refereed the Champions League final and then the European Championship final. And he's got them both on his forearms. They just look atrocious.
I mean, and with some, I've got tattoos. I've got a full arm covered in them. Yeah, it is one of those things where you go, but each to their own and things like that. But no, Tommy's not got another tattoo of some Saudi Arabian championship which he refereed the final of, because obviously he was over there. He's in the news because you mentioned it earlier. Klopp's been moaning, hasn't he, about penalties and Man United and things like that. So Clattenburg has jumped to the defence per se of referees. I'll just read the quotes to you. He said, first, he, as in Klopp, sounds like a hypocrite if he's suggesting that United players are looking to win penalties. The likes of Mo Salah and Sadio Mane are just capable of employing similar tactics. He's clearly getting edgy, though, because not since Fergie have we seen such a blatant attempt to influence a referee ahead of a big game. Klopp wasn't doing this last season when Liverpool were winning every week. And then he goes on to say about, hang on, let me just scroll down to get to the point, about here it is. Klopp is wrong to suggest there's an aura around Man United that he sees them giving favourable decisions. They used to when Fergie was there, but it is eased massively since then. So the fact that he's used the word, firstly admitting that it was bias, and then that it's now eased since, suggesting that there has been bias towards Man United in that quote. And I did a bit of digging, Tom, and I don't know if there's a famous game at Old Trafford with a famous goal, which I didn't realise until this has now been trending on Twitter, but Mark Clattenburg was referee for that game. Can you think of a famous goal that happened at Old Trafford against Tottenham? And it was a very studious decision. Yeah. And Mark Clattenburg was the referee at that game, which when you put in that comment next to it, it doesn't look good, does it?
I've seen a lot of tweets sort of posting conspiracy theories about referees, and lots of Wolves fans have pointed out various discrepancies in decisions that have been given against us, but then have been given very similar decisions have been given for top six teams. And in fact, people have been blocked from sharing these stories on Twitter. I don't know how true it is, but there was one the other day when Hoover was elbowed in the head in the penalty area, which should be a penalty, but wasn't given, wasn't checked by VAR. So it's something that we've all heard people saying, that there are conspiracies, especially
with Man United teams. Especially United. There's always been this Fergie time, and Fergie being, this presence and stuff. And, the truth, you could take some truth out of that comments. There hasn't been anyone really since Fergie, to have this presence and to the mind games and stuff. Mourinho tried it a couple of times, when he was back at Chelsea and obviously Man United last year. Klopp now, it's easy for them to spin the story and make it sound like that. But yeah, I just thought he's not been very good with his words there. Speaking, obviously I'm terrible, as we heard earlier in the podcast, me fumbling over my words. But yeah, it was just a case of, I'm like, oh, you fool, you've really stitched yourself up here now. But yeah,
I tell you what, I definitely think. I mean, imagine if one day there's this huge corruption amongst referees that is discovered.
When it happened in Italy. It happened in Italy with this, the corruption and stuff. If they imagine they turn around and go, yeah, Liverpool haven't won the league again now, we're going to avoid that. But it's...
And all 13 of Man United's titles.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
That'll be, it'll be bonk. Or can you imagine all of the Premier League? Right, we've got to scrap all of that.
Well, that's it. So that's something that was brought up yesterday. With Wolves, because obviously, we're desperate. Everybody knows we're desperate for a striker. So first of all, they all put their prices up on the strikers that they have. So we've been linked with Origi, Josh King, a couple of those kind of players. So that instantly they know Wolves desperately need them. So let's just try and squeeze a few more million out of them. But then the other thing is that the season could well be cancelled at any point. And I think it'd be more acceptable this season to sort of cancel it because nobody's ran away with the title. Yeah. Apart from Sheffield United, who'd be delighted if it was just null and void because they've had a stinker.
Well, they won their first game, didn't they? The other day.
They've won 2 games now, haven't they?
Yeah. They won. Oh no, I think is it their first league game? I think that it's their first league game they've won.
Oh yeah, that's right, and it was against Newcastle because Derby also won their only game in that season against Newcastle. That's right.
But I think they won the other game they won was in the cup. I think they won in the cup,
okay.
and that was their other win. Was because they're through in the FA Cup, so they must have won in the FA Cup and then took that momentum and then won against Newcastle.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying was that because the season could be null and void, Wolves don't really want to go out and spend 30 million on a striker if then we don't need them, because if this season is a write-off and we start again in August and reset everything, then it's a complete waste of money investing on a player that might barely get used. Like we've been talking about, Hulk was the first one on loan from China for 6 months. Well, imagine the cost of his wages and bringing him over.
Costa, another one.
Costa for a couple of months. There's no point, and I can sort of see our owners' perspective and think actually they've paid 35 million for Fabio Silva and he's only 18, but they're sort of saying, well, you've got him, make him score. But I mean, it's so harsh for an 18-year-old. But I don't want to talk about Wolves anymore. I've got some Chelsea news for you, Billy. I'm sure you've seen it. Chelsea's longest-serving player has left after 10 years service without a testimonial. I think that's quite disappointing, really.
Well, it's actually 9.5 years.
Is it?
It's 9.5, but I think we'll round it up. It'll be his 10th year. I think it will be the 10 years this year, if that makes sense.
So
Lucas,
very disappointing, really. Lucas Piazon, one appearance in 9 years. He's been on loan at how many clubs, Billy? Do you know?
7.
7 clubs. What a
it's mad. It's mad to think. I remember him signing, which if you think would have been when we started uni. So we probably had a conversation about him at some point, and me probably bigging him up, saying he's the next best thing, because Gael Kakuta was another one. He was supposed to be the next Zidane. We were buying all, as we have been doing for Yonks, these next generational talents, and then loaning them out for Yonks and Yonks and Yonks. But he's only 26. It's mad. He's been there 10 years, nearly 10 years, and he's 26. And someone put up on Twitter, like, he has lived the dream. He is literally set for life now, because he's obviously just been earning mega bucks. Being a fringe player at Chelsea for 10 years, he's earned all this money. And now he's going to go and actually start his career at 26. And, he could make a name for himself. Can you imagine he's at Braga, I think he's gone to.
Yeah, he's gone to Braga.
So he could, he could end up playing Chelsea in the Champions League in a couple of years' time if he stops there, because they do, I think, tend to get into European competitions.
They were in our group last year for the Europa League.
Yeah, so it could be that he ends up going and scoring a hat-trick against Chelsea, and we'll all have egg on our face. But you've already mentioned it, Tom, and you've guessed the surprise topic that I had for you. The surprise feature is the NFL playoffs have started. Your favorite thing in the whole world, Tom.
Yes.
Last year I got you to predict the final, the winners.
You were to predict the whole thing.
Don't worry, I've been kind. I was going to do it last week before the whole thing, because they had the wild card. But there's only they're in the quarterfinals, as it were, already. It's up to you. There is a predictor online. I can share my screen if you want to see, or I can just do it verbally.
Go on then. Share the screen.
While you let me.
Oh, okay. Well, while
your importance.
Yes.
So
while you do that,
control.
Haven't I?
Go on. No, you have. You have now. I was just saying. Go on.
Well, I was going to actually, but you've sorted it out now, so let's not bother. I was going to do the Idigo Johnson game, but we'll save that for the next feature.
So, just the teams which are left, Tom, are the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, Kansas
Buffalo
City
Bills.
Chiefs. Yeah,
that's a Beatles song.
No, Buffalo Bill. Tennessee Buccaneers. I don't know what I know. New Orleans Saints, I want to say. Los Angeles Rams and Green Bay Packers. They are the teams which are left.
Why is there a little bed next to Green Bay Packers and the KC one?
Because they were the overall. If you look on the tables here, they were the overall winners of their subsequent groups. So they've had a bye. So they haven't played. So the previous week, if I go back one step, you'll see that all these teams played.
Oh.
and they didn't play in those weeks, so they've had a rest. Hence why they have a bed. So, for example, Tom,
okay. Oh, I see at the bottom, teams on a bye. The Chiefs and the Packers.
So the main thing from the wild card, for those of you listening, was that I think the Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers both lost they were considered pretty favorites. You know, they finished third in their respective divisions overall, and they were expected, I think, to get to at least the divisional finals, but they've lost to the minnows that are the Los Angeles. When I say minnows, they've managed to get to the playoffs. They're not tiny things. So what I want to know, Tom, is who do you? I'm not going to tell you what the odds are. You're just going to go off. You're just going to go who they are, and then I will tell you at the end who the current favorites are. So the Baltimore Ravens against the Buffaloes. Who are we going for?
So I'm good. I don't know if you remember, but they used to do this thing on Soccer AM where it was like the two animals having a fight and which one would win. So obviously a buffalo, I think, would beat a raven. So Buffaloes. Okay.
So the Cleveland Browns versus not Cleveland Browns. I think it's Bears. I think it's Cleveland Bears. Hang on, let me double check. No, Cleveland Browns is correct. Okay. Cleveland Browns is correct against Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, so it's got racial straight away. Well, Chiefs. Well, I can see that they've had a bye, and Chiefs are in charge of everything. So Chiefs, obviously.
Chiefs, okay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Against the New Orleans Saints.
Well, so Saints are better than Buccaneers because Saints are godly figures.
And then the Green Bay Packers against the Los Angeles Rams.
What's a Packer? Just people who put stuff in boxes.
I'm guessing so. And Rams, they've got a green G as their logo. Tom, it's not going to give me much clue. The Rams are, as you think they were. They've changed their logo this year. I think it's supposed to be a ram. I don't know if you can see on the logo.
Okay, yeah.
It's supposed to be the horns of a ram there.
So I reckon a ram would definitely beat somebody. I mean, if it's a ram's running at somebody trying to put the ram in a box, the ram is going to win.
Okay.
So the Rams.
Just as a point of reference, you probably have heard of a player called Tom Brady. Do you know who Tom Brady is? He plays for the Buccaneers, so you're expecting him to. But the Patriots, who he used to play for, who were your pick, one of your favorite teams, they didn't even make the playoffs this year. They had a losing record this year.
But isn't that because of the way that the draft works when they've had the last pick?
We're not gonna have a whole thing.
But
there. But you
I've
did
learned.
Well there. You've learned, Tom. You have learned. But it was also because Brady left as well. He decided to go and sign for the Bucks, as they're called.
Okay.
So I'll move on to the next week, which will be the divisional finals. Okay, or the league finals because they have two different leagues. So you've got the Buffaloes versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm gonna think back to Westerns, and I reckon that Chiefs. They'd have shot their bows and arrows at the Buffaloes and skinned them and worn them as clothes.
So you're going Chiefs there, and then the Rams versus the New Orleans Saints.
Oh no. It's going to be Saints. It's got to be the Saints. They're more although a ram is a very, almost a very biblical figure. A sheep would have been better, but not as quite as Saints, catchy. Then? Yeah. Saints definitely.
Okay, and then the final, Tom, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, I would like to point out, Tom. I'm not gonna tell you.
I'm guessing that the numbers by the side of them are the same, like they're ranking each time.
Yeah, so they are their ranking overall. So you've picked the two best teams of the division the whole year. These are the number one and number two seeds.
So I assumed that it was just sort of whittling it down each time and saying out of these two.
So
these
what
two,
happens,
this is one or two. Oh, I see. Yeah.
So if I go to the division, so they each have a division. But what I've done is I've changed it to a conference just for ease of use. So these have all put in a league table, and then so you have the top 7 teams, they get put into the playoffs, and the top 7 teams over here are put into a playoff, and then they play off each other. So you've got the number 1 seed from the AFC against the number 2 seed because you've got rid of the Green Bay Packers. So you've got the top 3 teams, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. 2 of the top 3.
Yeah.
Or top 4. Okay. So the Saints versus the Chiefs. Well, as I've been banging on about the religious side and that Saints are better than your average human, even if they are a chief, it's going to be the New Orleans Saints that win the Super Bowl.
There we are. Tom's prediction. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I don't want to share the odds on screen. But the Chiefs are the current favorites to win it, with the Saints third after the Green Bay Packers, which you ejected pretty early on. With it being 20%, so it's 22% chance of the Chiefs winning, 21% of the Saints winning, and 20% of the Packers winning. So you're in the ballpark, Tom. You're on the. I think you've actually picked, and the Bills were the fourth favorite, so you're doing pretty well, Tom.
People say I don't know much about American football. Turns out,
but you're not the only one. We'll come back. We'll keep track week on week now to see, because I think they'll play now this weekend to see how they get on. But I was about to say, Tom, we can hear some lovely singing coming from.
It's not singing. She was just saying hello to the cats. Right. Well, I went to introduce. Well, not introduce. I went to play a game of the Idaho Johnson game.
Yeah.
My dad sent me in an entry. I don't know if anybody got back to you with the Milan question.
No one had messaged me on Twitter or anything like that.
Oh dear. So this is a non-sporting one, completely non-sporting, and it's people who have met each other from my dad.
So as loose a term as you can get.
Yeah, but he's picked somebody who is currently alive, and he's got back to somebody who, you know.
Please say it's himself.
Quite old. Well, actually, I could start with myself.
Yeah.
So me, Tom Rouse, saw Paul McCartney in concert in Liverpool in 2018.
Someone you saw.
Well, it's pretty much the same as these. Paul McCartney had a discussion about the Vietnam War with the famous philosopher Bertrand Russell, who remembered as a child having met William Gladstone, who was the Prime Minister, who used to have breakfast with William Wordsworth, the poet, who was born in 1770. So Dad says, so it's blackbirds to daffodils in 3 meetings. And then Lord John Russell, who I assume is related to Bertrand Russell, visited Napoleon in exile on Elba. So you could go from Paul McCartney to Napoleon in 3 moves.
Wow.
So that's pretty good, and it gets us back quite a long way. Probably
further, definitely the furthest.
So Napoleon was born on the 15th of August, 1769. So, I mean, he could have gone back further even because he just stopped at Napoleon because I think he got fed up.
I mean, going off based off, I saw this person once in the distance.
Well, they were all people who had met and had conversations.
Yeah.
I think, apart from me seeing Paul McCartney, but that wasn't involved in the actual one. Paul McCartney is still alive, so the fact you can get, by meetings all the way back to 1769, that's quite that's quite good.
But no, yeah. So I think
just remind everybody of the Maldini one then.
So it's the AC Milan. So you've got to start with the Maldini. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
David.
Yeah, then all the way back to his grandfather, who also played for AC Milan, and you've also got to get Paolo Maldini in there as well.
It's Daniel, not David. So Daniel, Paolo, and Cesar Maldini.
It is quite difficult, because I think there is only one solution. So we'll keep rolling it over as we do and stuff. But yeah, it's good. I think, Tom, I'm just looking at the time, and I know you've got to shoot off and things like that. Should we do Believe It or Not now? I think
let's do it. Yes.
You'll have to play the sting because even though I am in control and in charge for the 60th episode, I haven't got it set up. And seeing as we didn't have it last week,
I haven't even got it open. So
wow. Whilst you set it up, Tom, I'll just mention it. I was
going to say I'm not going to bother.
I'll just mention it, seeing as we haven't mentioned him, and we are about to obviously hear his beautiful voice.
Oh yes.
Donald Trump setting records again, as he always does, being impeached for the second time, as you kindly put on our. Did you put it up on Instagram, Twitter?
I put it on Instagram.
I know you sent it to me. I'm presuming you put it up because it is something that you do, of Donald Trump being almost a rendition of James and the Giant Peach. It's Trump
impeached.
Yeah, impeached. So obviously it's only just happened yesterday, so we don't know what the fallout was going to be, because it's going to go to the Senate now. It's obviously they're not going to. I think when I was looking it up, they can't remove him as president now because there's such a short period, but they could stop him from ever being president again. So that, I think that's the main
and
thought behind everything.
He loses a lot of privileges as well. So he'd lose his Secret Service protection for the rest of his life. He'd lose his pension, which is $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
He'd lose all presidential privileges.
Benefits.
Like you see.
Yeah.
Barack Obama and George Bush and Clinton. Is Jimmy Carter still alive as well? I think there's 3 or 4 of them still alive. They don't have to. They're not allowed to drive anywhere. They're driven everywhere because it's for just safety reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I mean, I'm not being funny, but Trump probably is financially okay. So in terms of him losing that pension,
is he?
It could
because
be.
He's had a lot of sort of New York City have cut all ties with his businesses. And if you think he owns 2 ice rinks, and then you've got Trump Tower, and you've got all that sort of stuff in New York. If he's not allowed to be there, then
fair enough.
Reportedly, he's in a huge amount of debt as well, which is why he was so desperate to stay in office. Yeah. So it is quite. I think it is quite a big deal.
Yeah, no, you are.
For him as well.
You are probably right there, Tom. So yeah, but are you ready now? Now that we've briefly spoken about it,
we've done it before the Sting this time.
Yeah,
here we go. There.
Denmark government are allowing sex with domestic animals during
Malcolm
lockdown.
Pike left an address at when he was
The Brazilian
Chico Rodriguez has stuffed £10,000.
The government are banning babies to own businesses.
A Dutch football team is not allowed to be sponsored by sex toys.
A 3-year-old
blood is swept off by a kite.
Bears.
It's time for Believe It or Not.
You are fake news.
There he is, as he always
Sorry,
is.
I was reading an email.
Tom, ever, the short attention span, the goldfish that he is. But I am actually, Tom, this week, including Trump within within Believe It or Not. He is quite heavily featured. So going off from the impeachment, I just want to. There's a news story broken out. I have got 4 stories here because I do think you have potentially heard one of these, and I'm sick of you having this advantage of knowing them and Alice telling you one as she did last week. So I've come up with a backup plan. I've got up for 4. So if you do say, "Oh, I've heard one," at least then I know we're fine. So this one is that during the raid of the Capitol, or the riots, or the protest, or however it's being reported.
Insurrection. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't think I'd ever heard that word before last week, and now I can't stop hearing it.
It's the word of the week, Tom. That's what our new feature is. It's Tom's word of the week: insurrection. But that there was a famous celebrity there, heavily involved within the riots, as it were, because obviously now they're reporting that it could be a planned attack being in quotations. Chuck Norris, Tom, is being reported to have been involved in said riots after being photographed attending the actual going into the Capitol building. So Chuck Norris is obviously a pro-Trump and trying to usurp the government. And I'm saying it now, Tom, he's going to be the next president after Biden.
Wow. Who knew?
Who knew? The next one is that there has been a delay in executions in the US. Two executions have been delayed as a result of the patients in quotations suffering from COVID. So they've not been able to be executed as a result of having COVID. You can ask your questions in a moment, Tom. So judge delays federal executions after inmates get COVID-19. Drivers' illegal ham sandwiches seized at Dutch border under EU rules. And then the final one, Tom, is a woman being fined after walking her husband on a lead and telling police he was a dog. Now, I would just like to ask Tom, have you heard of any of these stories before we go any further?
No.
Oh, that's quite surprising. I thought you'd have heard at least one.
No, I haven't. Well, Billy, the test match started today, so at 4 a.m. I was up watching. I was watching that instead. Right, so tell me about Chuck Norris then. So has he previously shown any Trump tendencies?
No, not at all. I don't think he's from Texas, which I think is a heavily Trump or Republican, I should say. I know they're now referring it to the Trump party. He is a long-standing Republican supporter, but I don't think he voted. I haven't got any stats to say here that he voted for Trump. I know he's on record of accusing Barack Obama of creating a pro-gay Boy Scouts.
Oh well.
So he's definitely a Republican, shall we say? Okay. But I want to think he must have voted for Trump for him to be attending these rallies.
So has there been like any like memes about it? Obviously, because there was all those jokes when they're beforehand, like where like this doesn't happen because Chuck Norris, or Chuck Norris is the reason why such and such.
I'll be honest with you, Tom. This news is broke today. So there isn't. I haven't researched to see if there's been any memes per se. I have got, if I can find it, I have managed to, because it was on Instagram, was the said photo. So I have got a picture of the photo. If you want me to show you the image.
Okay, it's very bold.
Here he is.
Oh well. So who's the?
So this is obviously This is the chap who's taken the photos, and this is Chuck Norris on the.
Is that definitely in Washington?
As far as I'm aware, Tom, yes.
There's no real proof within that picture to say that it's outside the Capitol, is there?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, I could go onto Google and try and find to see if this background is in said location and whatever. It could even be from 2016. Obviously, when he came into power.
Except he's got Trump 2020 on his cap.
He has got Trump 2020 on his hat, but they were obviously confident he was going to go for. I'm just trying to say when he was obviously going for elections and blah 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 blah, and all that sort of thing.
Okay,
I think I've shown
pretty compelling evidence there, Billy. So the two executions then delayed because of COVID. So I'm going to tell you what I think has happened. It's obviously because the people carrying out the execution, they can't risk them getting COVID. Is that correct? No. Oh my God.
No. It's because here is said quote, Tom. So they argued, the judge, the people who are due to be executed have argued that the damage to their lungs would make it a torturous execution. That is the reasons behind it, and it's because it's supposed to be a nice, easy stroll into death or whatever. It would be a sensation akin to waterboarding.
Oh, wow.
A side effect that would be avoided if the defendants were implement such precautions. So it's not to do with the actual, that's what I thought when I saw this article. It was to do with it being passed on, but no, it's due to have the lethal injection in the US, and it's one of Trump's final acts before he leaves to execute.
I know that this is definitely in the news at the minute because the first woman to be executed in a long time happened yesterday.
There was 3 people due to be executed, her and 2 others, and the other 2 couldn't be because of this.
Okay. Right.
Any other questions you want to ask?
Have you told us where in America it is?
I don't think it actually. It says. I think it's in a prison. It's in a prison in Indiana. I can tell you the names of the 2 people if you want to know them.
Go on then.
Corey Johnson and Dustin Higgs.
What were their crimes? They must have been pretty bad. Are they?
They were very. Yeah, I don't think we should make them even into more celebrities than they actually are. But yeah, they were pretty bad for.
I did read
going off what the 3rd member
Yeah, I was going to say.
Of the three I've done, it's because it's the first execute. Well, Trump's obviously brought it back in because it's his one of his final things he's going to do, and he's executing these three people. Whether you believe in, you're for or against, the execution and hanging and blah blah blah. Not hanging, but do you know what I mean? The lethal injection. That's what I was thinking. Was
I know that there was the increase in them in the last 4 years has been huge. I think he's executed more people than anybody else ever. So okay, so that could well be true. Right, the ham sandwiches. Then where was it? Holland,
Dutch border.
The Dutch border. So there's been all sorts of stories this week because the EU rules are all starting to set in. I saw a news report about Northern Ireland not having frozen vegetables or many vegetables at all because they get them via Britain or something like that.
I think it goes to Scotland and then from Scotland to for some stupid reason. And all I know my sister has been speaking to my mum about it because my sister's fiance works in a wholesale establishment, and I think there's been something to do with that. And ever since Brexit's come in, obviously, it's been the change to his job in terms of where the supplies and things like that come from is quite different and stuff. So yeah.
So what's the rule that they've broken? Then you can't take cooked meat across a border.
Nailed it, Tom. Yeah, that's what it is. It was just prohibited. It was that ham sandwich. When I was traveling the borders to and from in Argentina, it's meat and dairy. You can't take meat and dairy over the borders and stuff. So he had ham sandwiches, and it's to prevent diseases such as foot and mouth and swine fever is the excuse. And he wasn't even allowed to take the ham out of and keep the bread. Everything had to go because it had obviously touched.
So this is something that's come in now because we are not in the EU. So okay. So the people who voted for Brexit, who wanted their straight/bendy bananas, they in the end they forgot which one they were fighting for. they now have to make sure that they can't even take a cheese sandwich then either, can they? If they can't take dairy, so.
Vegan, Tom. Vegan all the way.
Vegan cheese. Okay. If that is true, that is hilarious. That is now what we're going to have to do because of Brexit. But it sounds plausible because all the rules now that have come in are ridiculous because of Brexit. Not pre. And then the final one. Then so somebody was fined because they walked their husband as a dog. Where did this take place?
In Quebec, in Canada.
Okay. Was it what? Just what? What was going on?
So, people have to stay indoors in between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. in Canada. Okay. So there's a curfew. However, dog walkers are allowed outside during 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. So they're exempt from the rules. So this woman was spotted, or this couple was spotted at 9 p.m. Just after the rules are taken in effect. And she just said that I'm allowed to be out here because I'm walking my husband, my pet dog.
So was he on his hands and knees, or was he standing? Walking? What did he say?
It doesn't. It doesn't say. I'll be honest. It doesn't say. I would like to think, Tom, that it is. That is the case because each person has their own fetishes and things like that. But there are obviously people who enjoy dressing up as animals and things like that. I don't know if the couple is that into have that in their relationship, but and whether he was wearing an actual dog costume or anything like that, it doesn't say anything along those lines. Just that they were fined $1,500 Canadian dollars.
Rightly so. Right. Okay. Now, Billy, I've got to be honest. I lied to you.
Oh, you have heard of some.
I had heard of two of the stories.
I thought you had.
So, because I'd heard of two of them, I thought I'd just say nothing because.
Well, my question was, had you heard of one, and you were actually on it?
Yeah. So okay, in that case, then yeah, that's true. So I know for a fact that the ham sandwiches one is true.
Yeah.
Because
that's the one I thought you'd heard of.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, I didn't read the story, but I just thought, oh god, here we go. It's going to be like traveling abroad now. It's just going to be such a pain. That's not even just getting into other countries. That's just the silly rules that are in place for good reason. But because we've now decided that we don't want to be part of this continent that we can freely travel in between, that we now have to, I mean, good veganism, man.
That's obvious. I was about to say that's obviously who voted to leave. Was all the vegans decided this is how we're going to get the UK to be vegan, is they can't take anything across the borders. So go on.
And the other one I know to be true, or actually I know to be false, Billy, is the Chuck Norris one. It is a very, very striking comparison, but it is not Chuck Norris, is it, Billy? I don't know who the man is. He's just a lookalike.
So had you heard of it before?
So I saw it this morning. I can't remember how aware I saw it. I think it was on Jimmy Kimmel or something like that. I saw.
So I saw it because Chuck Norris has had to come out and say.
Yeah, that was part of the news story. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, because I had plans to do the research because we were obviously supposed to do this later. I was like, I'll figure out my fake news story later on. Because I had the other three. So just to reiterate, just go over the two true ones. The woman was fined. The woman and her partner were fined in Canada for walking her husband on a lead. That was true. And the COVID-19 preventing two people from being executed is also true. But yeah, it was. I saw it on there and I was like, I can bend this slightly, because it was only yesterday that it came out that the Trump that Norris was reportedly there and stuff. Yeah. And then today now he's come out, so which is why I then said obviously today it's only broken, things like that. But yeah, everything else I said was true in terms of he's very pro Republican.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a supporter next to a man with a likeness to the 80-year-old action hero.
Well, that was the other thing as well, is that bloke does not look 80. He looks like Chuck Norris from 1980.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's I thought you pretend. I knew probably the ham sandwich one, because that is quite an old. It's a couple of days old, that one.
Yeah.
Whereas, well done, Tom. I don't know how if I should say you've managed to guess it right, or you just.
Well,
I think you've now decided that you're just going to look up all weird news stories to try and convince me.
Billy, we're at home now all the time, so there's nothing else to do other than look at.
I think you should play with your pupils, Tom. I think that would be quite funny. Maybe not the ones that we've done recently. But that is good.
Yeah.
But there we are, Tom. We've managed to get through, I think, everything, unless there's something else. I know we've got the recommendation, but I think I've got something that I want to recommend.
Go on then, Billy. It's your podcast.
It's my podcast now. I've decided. You probably would have recommended something along these lines anyway, but also trending on Twitter today is Alan Rickman.
Oh yes, I saw that very briefly. Oh, is it?
It's 5 years since he passed away.
I saw that it was 5 years since David Bowie died as well.
Yeah,
a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so I think there was quite a few at the start of that year in 2016. So I just wanted to recommend, if you haven't, obviously he's well known for his role as Professor Snape in Harry Potter. But I want to know, Tom, what was his first ever film?
Gremlins.
Nope. It has been mentioned on this podcast before, which is why I've asked.
Fight Club.
Nope. You're close. It's two words. Really?
Forrest Gump.
It's my favorite film. One of my favorite films. It's a Christmas film. We found out it was a Christmas film.
Oh, really? Die Hard. I'd assumed it would have been. He'd have been much.
No, Die Hard was his first ever feature film. Was he
one of these like Shakespearean actors?
Yes, because his first ever TV appearance, Tom, which I only found out today, was looking it up, because I was sure Die Hard was his first ever film, where he played the villain in that. He played Tybalt on his Shakespearean BBC reenactment, or however you want to call it, of this. And I'll send you the link after, Tom, because it is quite. Actually, I'll show you a picture now. Actually,
I'm very sorry, Billy. We're going to have to hurry. There's been an accident downstairs, so
okay.
Here's the picture. You end the podcast, and I need to go.
He needs to go. Tom needs to go. Bye, Tom. We'll speak to him. So here, for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm hoping you can see this, because This is Alan Rickman, back in the 1970s, I want to say, appearing as Tybalt, which it's very clear it is him. Tom has now muted his camera and disappeared. I'm hoping he's still here. I'm recording this. So yeah, just my recommendation would be to go and watch any of his films which he starred in. Notably, my favorites are Die Hard, as I mentioned, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where he plays not King John, the Sheriff of Nottingham. Harry Potter, obviously, he's in all of them. Sweeney Todd's with Johnny Depp, he's in that. Love Actually, obviously, it's a Christmas film, so we haven't seen that. And his final film was Alice Through the Looking Glass. So yeah, they're all of his appearances are my favorite films. There's loads of other films he's appeared in, not as many as I thought, but yeah, that's our recommendation for this week. Whilst Tom has disappeared, just because he has got a disaster to go on, find us on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm just looking them up because Tom normally does all this, so bear with me whilst I make sure I get the right handles and things like that. I think it's at Scenes Pod is one of them. Absolute Scenes. As you can tell, I'm normally really good at this, and that's why I leave it all to Tom. Yeah, it's at Scenes Pod if you want to follow us, and then I think it's Absolute Scenes Podcast is on Instagram as well. So Scene Podcast is on Twitter, and at Scenes Pods is the other one or something. I tried to do it, Tom. Tried to do it without you.
Have you ever seen Wayne's World?
Yeah.
You know the bit when for some reason Wayne's not there and it's left to Garth?
Yeah. That was literally just me. I'm like, these are all the films you should go and watch. And I'm now, whilst Tom goes away, because I can't end this Zoom because I don't know how it'll save and things like that and the recording. So I'm just going to waffle on a bit now. So I just tried to plug the podcast and where they needed to go. I'll just share it again, Tom.
I heard everything. Don't worry.
I'll just share it with you as well, Tom. Here is Alan Rickman.
Oh my God.
As Tybalt. The benefit, Tom, is you can't see it below the waist. That's all I'm going to say. Yes. Is because he was just wearing tights.
Wow.
Yes, and not just him. Every actor within the play.
And you know what they say about people with big noses, Billy?
Yeah, they need big
tissues.
Tom, I have you seen any Alan Rickman TV or films that you wanted to recommend? I recommended quite a few, but you can recommend one.
So there's 8 films that I'd like to recommend. There's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and then Die Hard.
Brilliant. There we are then. Great, Tom. And,
right, well done, Billy. Well done, Billy. I'm sure everyone will find out. They'll find out on Instagram now. Well done. Right, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.